Namaskaram everyone. Welcome to the guided meditation session of Vivekananda Samiti under the guidance of Swami Atmashraddhananda Maharaj. Initially, we'll have chantings followed by reading from complete books of Swami Vivekananda. We are reading inspired talks now. Afterwards, we'll have guided meditation session. And in the end, you can have your question answer session.
Everyone, I hope all are doing well. We are holding this weekly session, and meditation is a part of that. And meditation is such an important thing. The mind gets associated with this word so deeply that it gets so much affected by the word. Whereas in meditation, we try to divest the mind, to keep the mind away from all the disharmony and all the conflicts, all the worries and fears of the world in which we are all used to. We are all born in this world. We all have this kind of interaction with the world. World is constantly changing. The past is constantly slipping into the present, and present is constantly slipping into the future. So we are in a constant state of change. In the midst of that, we try to get some spot of changelessness. Some external circumstances have to be set right. Certain things in which seem to make our mind restless have to be set right. To some extent, we can do all these. But setting the mind calm is the real task. So that happens only when the mind has got the right kind of knowledge and approach, and also a certain practice, because we have yet not attained that state where we are not affected by anything. But we want to attain that state when we are not affected by anything, and yet retain a certain enthusiasm, a certain passion in life to carry on everything very meaningfully. So that's a kind of challenge or task before all of us. So every week we meet like this, online classes, and hopefully in days to come we'll have offline also. We'll come to the IIT campus and hold it whenever it becomes feasible, as it was being done earlier. So idea is that we keep the fire burning, so to say, the fire of enthusiasm for higher life, for higher thinking, for higher way of understanding. So let us begin today's class with these few remarks. Let me start by chanting Vedic mantras. These mantras, the Shanti mantras, have got a soothing effect on the mind. Those of you know can chant it at your end, but others can simply close the eyes and keep hearing them. As they say in Hindi, Pure Mano Yog se suniye. Hear it with full attention, with closed eyes. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om. Bhadram Karnebhih Shrunuyama Devaah Bhadram Pashe Makshabhiryajatraah Sthirairangai Stuštuvagam Sastanubhihi Vyashema Devahitam Yadayuhu. Swasti na Indro Vruddhashavaha. Swasti na Pusha Vishwavedaha. Swasti nastaksho Arishtanemihi. Swasti no Brihaspatiradadhatu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Asato ma sadgamaya. Tamaso ma jyotirgamaya. Mrityorma amritam gamaya. Tejo asi tejo mai dehi. Viryamasi viryam mai dehi. Balamasi balam mai dehi. Ojo asi ojo mai dehi. Saho asi saho mai dehi. Manyurasi manyum mai dehi. Om Bhurbhuvasvaha Tatsavitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Nah Prachodaya. Om Namah Shri Yatirajaya Vivekananda Suraye Satchit Sukha Swarupaya Swamine Tapaharine. Now let us read and reflect over a few teachings of Swamiji from the text called Inspired Talks. The universe is motion, and friction will eventually bring everything to an end. Then comes a rest, and after that, all begins again. So long as the skin sky surrounds man, that is, as long as he identifies himself with his body, he cannot see God. Sunday afternoon. There are 6 schools of philosophy in India that are regarded as orthodox because they believe in the Vedas. Vyasa's philosophy is par excellence that of the Upanishads. He wrote in sutra form, that is in brief, algebraical symbols without nominative or verb. This caused so much of ambiguity that out of the sutras came dualism, monodualism, and monism or roaring Vedanta. And all the great commentators in these different schools were at times conscious liars in order to make the text suit their philosophy. The Upanishads contain very little history of the doings of any man, but nearly all other scriptures are largely personal histories. The Vedas deal almost entirely with philosophy. A religion without philosophy runs into superstition. Philosophy without religion becomes dry atheism. Vasishtha Advaita is qualified Advaita. Its expounder was Ramanuja. He says, out of the ocean of milk of the Vedas, Vyasa has churned this butter of philosophy, and the better to help mankind. He says again, all virtues and all qualities belong to Brahma, Lord of the universe. He is the greatest Purusha, and Brahman, neutral, is lower, for the universe or the universe itself. Madhva is a thoroughgoing dualist or Dvaitist. He claims that every caste and even women might study the Vedas. He quotes chiefly from the Puranas. He says that Brahman means Vishnu, not Shiva at all, because there is no salvation except through Vishnu. So we shall pause here. What we read today we'll briefly contemplate. First, Swamiji says about what this universe is. He says universe is motion, constantly happening, changing. And friction will bring everything eventually to an end. Then comes a rest, and after that, all begins again. So this is the Hindu idea of Srishti, or the cycle of Srishti, Sthiti, Pralaya. And after that, again Srishti, Sthiti, Pralaya. So the Hindu idea of creation is very different from the Abrahamic. So there are some similarities here and there. So what we say is that God himself, God alone existed. There is a sukta called Nasadiya Sukta. In that it is given that earlier only some kind of something existed, darkness covering the darkness. That's how Swami Vivekananda describes that Nasadiya Sukta. That is, this creation before it happened, there was a mass of tamas. And where all gunas were there, tamas was more visible. Tamas is the state of darkness in inactivity. And then that was not something separate from God. There is something called a desire that arose in God. Why it arose, we do not know. The no, or rather the why of a philosophy cannot be fully answered. Somewhat how can be answered, not why. So why the desire arose? What was the desire? The desire was that, well, I am alone. I alone exist now. Let me become many. Eko ham bahusyamaha. Praja yeti, says the Upanishad. And then he became many. So how did he become many? He himself created a prakriti out of himself, and then that was how the whole creation was made. So it is God who has become everything by his own power. And afterwards, it all evolves, and then finally it dissolves. It doesn't get destroyed. It's not a state of destruction. Now, body gets destroyed. In a sense, it is destroyed in the present form, and then it becomes either the ashes. If we are Hindus, we burn it, or in case of non-Hindus, they bury it. So it becomes part of the mud. And then what happens? According to Hindu philosophy, again after a certain rest, again you will come back. So this constant change is happening. This is the universe. So one name for the universe is Jagat. Jagat means Jo Gati Mein Hai, which is always happening. Or Samsar. Sansar, ye sansar aisa hai. What is sansar? Samyak Rupena Samsarati. Samsarati means that moves. Samyak Rupena, always moving. That is called samsara. Always moving. Sometimes the buildings doesn't seem to move. It is there. Maybe for a few centuries it is there, but it is moving. It is aging. A building is born, it is strong enough, it is young, and then it ages and it one day collapses. So no building is eternal. No physical construction is eternal. It will all fall down one day. And then what will happen? After a rest, it will assume another form. That's the Hindu idea. Then Swamiji secondly says, as long as the skin sky surrounds man, which means we all have skin, which means we have this body. So we think we are the body, we are only this man or a woman with these characteristics. We are young or old. So we kind of limit ourselves to our body. And Swamiji says, no. As long as you do that, you will become very attached to body and bodily comforts and bodily desires. So you should go beyond that in order to see God. You should assert your divinity, your infinite nature, then only you can see God. Then refers to, in the next passage, Swamiji refers to the sixth school of philosophy. They are known as the six Astika Darshanas. There are also two Nastika Darshanas, but two there are Astika Darshanas. Astika because they believe in the Vedas. Veda is their pramana. So Vyasa wrote them, wrote the Brahma Sutras, but the Sanskrit language is such, when you state it in this way, the way they had sutra form, then you can stretch it to create any meaning out of it. So Swamiji used to say Sanskrit is something like the Indian rubber. You can stretch it this way or that way. That's in a lighter sense. That's also elasticity of the language. It's great possibilities, greatness. But then this the side happens. So you can do a sandhi vichhed in some way. You can break a word differently. So that is how three schools of came up. What are they? Dvaita, Vashishtadvaita, Advaita. And Swamiji says all the acharyas who wrote commentaries, he had great respect for every acharya. He has spoken very highly of them. But he said somewhere they tried to interpret some text to suit their philosophical understanding. For instance, the great Acharya Shankara interpreted certain things which were meant to be Dvaita as Advaita. And some others, they made that which was Advaita as Dvaita. Swamiji says, no, each one has each passage has its own meaning. You should not interpret it in any other way. That was his stand. That's why Swamiji, when he said that Advaita, Vashishta, Advaita, Advaita, there are three states of the human soul's spiritual journey. Many of the traditional Pandits did not accept it. Then Swamiji said, one of them said, where it is written in the Shastras, what you are saying, Swamiji said, it was left for me and Ramakrishna to say this. And then again, he refers to Upanishads. Swamiji says that they are not the biographies or doings of any man, but they are all, they deal with philosophy. So Upanishads deal entirely with philosophy. And he makes a beautiful statement here. Religion without philosophy runs into superstition. Religious practices without philosophy behind it, they become into superstition, andavishwas. And philosophy without religion, without any spiritual practices or outside practices, philosophy becomes a dry atheism. So two extremes, religion and philosophy. Finally, Swami speaks of Vashishtadvaita. So the greatest teacher was Ramanuja. So who said that everything belongs to Brahman and we are just part of that. And then Swamiji also refers to Madhva, the great Madhvacharya, who claimed that he mainly quoted from his pramana was mainly, pramana means what he quotes in support of something. His pramana was mainly the Puranas, not the Shrutis or Upanishads. So for him, Brahman was Vishnu, which means the ultimate reality is Vishnu and not Shiva, because there is no salvation through Vishnu. So this is the dualistic standpoint of philosophy. We are not going to analyze it because that's not our field here. And moreover, we quote our Shruti or our Pramana, which is basically the Pramana of saying that there is the ultimate thing is what the Upanishads say. And in Upanishad, it is said that it is God who has become everything, and the Brahman is the highest reality. Call him by any name that you wish. Ekam sat vipra bauta vadanti. So that's our reading for today. So now let's try to calm the mind, to relax it, Try to discover the inner harmony and try to meditate, to focus the mind on our divine self. So I request everyone to remain seated as they are, straight. Close the eyes and let us prepare our body and mind for at least without any changing in posture. For next 20 minutes, we should meditate, at least 20 minutes. So if you have to change your posture, you can do so now. Otherwise, don't change posture in between. Of course, if it pains in the leg or anywhere, then you can do so. Otherwise, keep seated in the same posture. Let there be no restlessness for the hands and leg or eyes. Let there be calmness. There should be stillness. Sthiram Sukham Asanam. Meditative posture is the state of posture of the body where we are comfortable and without any movement. Let us keep our spine straight without overstretching it. Head straight, eyes closed. Hands in the lap or on the thighs. Let us discover our inner positivity in dealing with the world, which is constantly changing, out of harmony. We too become restless and out of harmony and often become negative. Let us try to discover the inner positivity, the inner innocence of a child, inner faith, inner peace. And let this peace, this faith, this goodness, this innocence, this seeking good of all go out as a prayer for the good of whole humanity. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah. Sarve santu niramaya. Sarve bhadrani pashyantu. Ma kaschit dukkha bhag bhave. Let us pray that all beings be at peace. May all be healthy, safe, and in a state of well-being. May there be no violence, physical, verbal, or mental violence. May there be non-violence. May there be harmony. May there be goodness. May there be serviceness, purity of heart. May there be love and not hatred everywhere. Let our prayer go in all directions, east, west, north, south, above, below. Let us feel grateful for whatever we have and whatever we don't have in our lives. Let us not regret. Let us accept what we have. We should be thankful for that. And let us pray to all the forms in which the Almighty God manifests Himself. Various names, various forms. To all the great sages and masters of meditation who are in harmony, who are perfection. May their blessings be upon us. May their grace be upon us. May we be able to meditate well. Let us keep the mind in the present moment. We are here with this body, this mind present in the present moment. Think of your body first. Think of various parts of the body as healthy, as strong, and we are in a state of good health. Let's do a little body scan. Think of the tip of the toes of your both the feet. The leg, both the feet and both the legs. Think of the calf muscles, the knee joints, the thighs. Each of this part is important for us, for a complete human body. They're all made by the divine. The hip joint, the spine, from the bottom of the spine, the top of the spine. Feel that you're healthy, strong, pure. The spine, the shoulders, the chest, the lungs, and the heart, the digestive system, the evacuation system. Feel that you're strong and pure. The shoulder joints, elbows, forearms, both the hands. Think of the palms. Think of the fingers, the thumb. How fortunate we human beings have got hands. The thumb, which can help us hold things, which is a source of civilizational progress. This hand and the thumb. Think of the neck, the head, the forehead, the frontal vortex, where all the data first enters, the forehead. Feel that you are calm, healthy. The eyebrows, eyes, closed eyes, ears, cheeks and the chins, the whole face and the whole body. And think of your breathing, which represents your inner vital energy, the prana. Is this prana which keeping the body healthy, alive? Now think of that which is beyond prana also, beyond body also, through the mind. First look at the mind. Look at your mind. Look at your positive thoughts. Look at your positive emotions. There are also negative thoughts, negative emotions. Just look at them. Don't analyze them. Don't fight with them. Now, let us try to remain detached from our own mind, reaction of the mind, whatever sounds that you might be hearing. Now, let us try to visualize a sacred spot in the midst of our mind. Let us spatially, in terms of space, think of in the center of the chest. Think of a sacred spot there and think of something to focus the mind. Think of the flame of a burning candle there, but unmoving flame, not flickering, but unflickering. Or think of any holy image, some holy Devi, Devata. You can think of Shiva or think of Krishna or Devi. Think of the calm face of the Lord. Actually, we are meditating on divinity. We're taking the help of these great symbols. Let us chant Om, and then I'll not give instruction. We'll try to remain focused for a few minutes. Om. Now let us conclude. Asato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityurma amritam gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Tat Sat. Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. Let us slowly open the eyes. Now, if you have any questions, you are welcome.
Thanks, Maharaj. Maharaj, Swarnindu Saha has written his question in chat box. It's a big one. Can you unmute and ask your question, Swarnindu?
Hello.
Yes.
Maharaj,
Maharaj, his question is, when we do something wrong, like stealing someone else's thing or indulging in immorality, invariably our mind loses its serenity and it becomes restless and disturbed. Is it the only effect of doing wrong things, that is losing the peace of mind, or we incur sins also as described in various scriptures as a punishment for doing wrong, immoral and sinful activities?
Is that the question?
Yes, Maharaj.
Both the questions contained in these questions have been answered by Swarnindu. First of all, whenever we do anything immoral, unethical, we are definitely making our mind restless. It will create a sense of peacelessness because it is against the law of our being. So there are two types of laws. One is the law made by the parliament or by any society or an institution. They are man-made laws. They have got their relevance, their sanctity, but they are not eternal laws. They can be changed. As the society changes, these laws also change. As per the geographical conditions or the change in timing, there is a change in law also. But they have their own sanctity also. Second is the no, it's not man-made, it is God-made, nature-made laws. So what is that nature-made law? That whenever you tell a lie, whenever you steal, whenever you do anything wrong at any level of your being, it could be a sexual misconduct, it could be stealing, it could be being wrong with somebody, being jealous. All this will create a ripple in your mind. It will create a ripple in your mind. This is a law. So that's why in the Yoga Shastra, in the Patanjali's Ashtanga Yoga, it doesn't begin with saying that you should meditate. Of course, it begins by saying Athato Yoga Jigyasa. And then he says that you have to control the chitta. That is it begins with. But it says in order to attain that calmness of mind, Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha, you will have to first practice Yama and Niyama. These are set of moral disciplines. Without that, meditation cannot really be done meaningfully, nor should we do also. Because with an impure mind, we are trying to concentrate the mind. With great willpower, we are able to control or rather focus the mind to some extent. That mind will get focused on something negative. That is what the mind is consisting of. So we are focusing, then you'll become more negative in your behavior. So that's why the first step is Yama and Niyama. There are 5 Yamas and 5 Niyamas. So what is Yama? Yama refers to 5 eternal principles like truthfulness or practice of continence or non-stealing, non-violence. These are all, under Yama. And Niyama means something like practice of certain austerity in life. not living too luxurious life, then practice of gratefulness in life, santosha. You are not all the time unsatisfied. Practice santosha. Be grateful for what you have. And reading of scriptures or chanting of God's name. And finally, it is said that you offer all the fruits of your actions to a divine power, Ishwara Pranidhana. These yama and niyama purify the mind. Then only next comes asana, pranayama, and then dhyana, dharana, and then dhyana, pratyahara, dharana. So the dhyana is only the 7th step, or rather 6th step. So first thing is purity of mind. It will definitely make the mind restless otherwise. Second, you said sin. So what is the idea of sin? In Vedanta, actually, we don't have idea of sin. But in practical reality, we know whatever we do, we'll get the result back. Suppose you're lying below, you go and lie down on a lawn or on the top of the of your roof, and you spit in the sky. Where will the spit go? It'll come back to your own face. Likewise is this world. If we are very hard hitting with somebody, it will come back to us. If you have cheated somebody, in some other form it will come. In Hindi, I was reading one day, जो तुमको आज रुला रहा है, one who is making you weep today, कल उसको कोई रुलाएगा. Somebody will make him weep some other day. So that's the law of life. Right? The time scale may be different. Not that immediately, it may take some time. So all the miseries of the world that you see, somewhere this karma, the law of karma is doing its role. So we should not try to do, we should avoid doing anything which is unethical or which is adharmic, because it will come back to us. Do to others what you want others to do to you. Suppose you want others not to tell lie to you. Nobody wants that a shopkeeper should tell me a lie. You buy something on the Flipkart or Amazon and then it is a fake thing. How angry we feel. Likewise, we should not be fake and we should not do anything to anybody which is wrong. So do to others what you want others to do to you. So that's the point. Let us keep, suppose we have done something wrong. Somewhere or the other it will hit us. How it will hit us, we do not know. It could be the form of somebody also cheating us, or we do not get cheating, we get some disease in return. Somebody gets a terrible disease or a terrible congenital problem which no doctor can solve. So we should know this. This law of karma is very difficult to comprehend. In the Gita, it comes karmana gahano gatihi. There is a great, kind of gahana, depth, inscrutable depth in the law of karma. So this is very true that it will come back to us in some form or other. It could be a disease. It could be, I know a story. You have a time? Shall I tell that story? Say it's a real story. There were two neighbors somewhere, maybe in Gujarat, and they're good friends, young people, but they were in a village. So they didn't have much opportunities to make money, to make a living. So they decided to go to a distant place and do business there. And they took leave of their houses and went there. And in due course, after a few years, they really became rich. And they decided to return home. They both started. They were both having their money with them. So it's not in those days when you could transfer things online and all. They were carrying their things with them. Now on the way, in some place they took rest at night, and both were sleeping. So one of them, in his heart, his malintentions came. He decided to kill him, his friend, and usurp all his wealth, which he did. And he, put some poison in his food, and he died. And then he, kind of got him cremated. He made some show out of it that he has died, and then took away all his wealth. And once he reached home, he told what had happened on the way, that he was bitten by a snake, and this happened, and this is his money. He gave some money also to his people, some money, maybe 10% of what he actually had got it, and started living his life. And then he, because he was having money, he slowly started doing a business in his village, and gave a show that he is now earning money. And then he built a big house, and he married, and he had a child. Now, when his friend was dying of poison, his friend had come to know that I have been poisoned and I am. So there was a certain grimace, certain facial expression on the dying friend's face, full of pain and full of anger, that I have been wronged. You have wronged me. So that he always remembered. Anyway, he was married, and he had a child. And when the child was about 2 years or 3 years old, he was stricken with some incurable, something very strange kind of a disease, which no doctor could do. He spent all his money to cure the child, nothing happened. He finally had to sell his house, nothing happened. And finally, the child was dying. And on the child's face, the same facial expression which was there on his friend's face was visible. So his own karma, came back to him as his child. And he had to lose both his child as well as his money and his peace of mind and everything. So this story shows, they say it's a real story. The one who told me, say it's a real story. It has actually happened, which is quite likely. So law of karma is the only way we can explain our miseries also. Why do some people, it's not that it explains everything, but it's only nearest thing. So some people, they think nobody has observed me. I have done something wrong and nobody has observed me. I am very clever. But in our culture, in our Hindu philosophy, we believe Yamaraj is there. Yamaraj is keeping count of all your actions. There's a symbolic way of understanding life. So what he has he's an accountant. And that accountant is a super accountant. He keeps record of everybody's life. Millions and millions of beings' life, he keeps a record. And how does he keep record? His name is Chitragupta. Chitragupta is a significant name. So I take a chitra, I take a picture in a Gupta, in a very secretive way. Like you have got CCTV, something like that, a mental CCTV or a divine CCTV. So I can hide from the government, I can hide from my friends, family. I can't hide from Chitragupta. He'll keep a record, and accordingly, I will be awarded either punishment or award. Maybe I'll send to heaven, and I'll send to miserable thing. And the Hindu philosophy says that's not our goal. Heaven is not our goal. The other loka is not our goal. To go beyond all loka, to attain mukti, to become free from heaven and hell, and what we were reading today, unless we come out of the sky under which we live, which we are not body, mind, this going to hell, heaven will continue. We want to attain that freedom. It's called mukti. So Swamiji said, Atmano mokshartham jagatitayacha. So let us keep that in mind.
Thanks, Maharaj. Maharaj, he has another follow-up question. Shall I read it?
Please do.
When Thakur got first vision of Ma, why didn't Ma grant him Brahma Gyan and instead instructed him to learn it under tutelage of Totapuri Maharaj?
Not that he did not have Brahma Gyan. How do we know he did not have Brahma Gyan? She did not say, do you go and learn it from him? As far as we know his life, it is, he experienced the divine bliss. But then he had to kind of authenticate and validate different practices of Sanatana Dharma and wherever there is sincerity in other dharmas. like Christianity and Islam. There are also some people, he practiced those things because he found that I can discover my mother even through those paths of prayer and meditation also. See, Islam has got Gyan by divine experience of the mother. He said, I have practiced all various paths and I have found the same truth everywhere. So I found that in Brahma Gyan also I get the same knowledge. Of course, the language is of Jnana. He says he will meditate on the Divine Mother. As soon as he will close his eyes, the Divine Mother will come. But Totapuri ji had initiated into Nirakara Dhyan, and he had given him sannyas also, which he, of course, Ramakrishna did not wear the sannyas clothes, but he, with his permission, with his guru's permission, that because his mother was alive, he didn't want to hurt her. Sri Ramakrishna's mother was alive. So he wore the white clothes, but he didn't say it was wrong to wear saffron clothes. He himself gave saffron drops to his 12 disciples. So Totapuri taught him the way of Nirakara Dhyana. And he had what we call as the Brahma Jnana. That when mother's vision he had, it was not Brahma Jnana, I don't think so. He definitely had that, because he later on did other sadhanas also. Like he had done the Madhur Bhava of the Vaishnavas, the Dasya Bhava. He found the same experience in all paths. If you are sincere, if you are intense, if you are pure in your intentions, that is what he said, you will have it.
Thanks, Maharaj. Maharaj, Chavan Sujit Yashwant has raised his hand. Can you
Yes.
unmute and ask a question?
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, Yashwanji.
Okay, so I have a very basic question. Like we have some expectations with life, or we have some expectations with some person, our friend, and if that person doesn't fulfill our expectation, like, so we get frustrated and we overthink about the situation. Like so how to avoid it? How to get over this?
This is how life is, dear. That you will have all these experiences. There will be people who live up to your expectation to some extent. Generally, people don't live up to your expectations. If it is not just not living up to your expectations, they may go against it also. So how do we interpret and how do we digest this experience? You are young, and for you, perhaps it's a beginning. Somebody who is older in years, they will say this is the way of life. This is a way of life. In a way, it is true. But the thing is, you should not get hardened by getting these experiences. Oh, Sara Sansar aise hai, let me also cheat people. No, that will be not right. So I should learn from whatever wrong happens to me. I learn that this is the way I should not behave with others. And one thing is, you can't please everybody in this world. That's also one thing. But we should not, in any way try to cheat anybody or give dhoka to anybody. No. When somebody does dhoka for us, we will interpret it this way. Maybe in my previous birth, I had done some such thing, so it's now coming back to me in some way. But that doesn't mean now I will sit, okay, previous birth and all my karma, and I have nothing now new to do. No, not that way. You should remain positive for your own mental health. See, this is one great art you will have to learn, that how to remain positive in the midst of so much of negativity, because that's necessary for our life. Suppose you're thinking of negative thoughts. Oh, he's not good, he did not do well to me, etc. Do you think you will experience peace or joy or bliss? No, you would not. If you are eating, hot chilies, lal mirchi, what we'll get? We'll get burning in the tongue. Same way, if we go on thinking of negative thoughts or negative actions, it'll come back to us. We have to accept certain way. Okay, this is what life is. I deserved it. I may not have wanted it. Nobody wants it. But I deserved it in the sense it came to me because of my past. So it's very difficult to explain it philosophically, that how my suffering can be explained. So only we take this Hindu idea of karma, and at the same time we also try to see that we do not become negative in the process. We retain, I will not trouble anybody. I will not see that I cause the pain to anybody in this way. That's how we can think of it.